Welcome to Grandads Fireside Chat. Today I am going to discuss the process of dealing with the loss of a friend or loved one. So, I have to say that my heart goes out to you in this difficult time. No matter what the circumstances of your loss, it can be extremely painful. So much that it literally hurts. Loss of a friend or loved one is a deeply painful and difficult experience. It can be hard to imagine life without them, and the grief and emotions that come with it can be overwhelming. Coping with such a loss can be a slow and challenging process, but there are things you can do to help yourself through this difficult time. Also, at the end of this fireside chat, I am going to review the probate process if that is something you are also responsible for during this time. Firstly, it's important to allow yourself to feel your emotions. It's normal to experience a range of feelings, such as sadness, anger, frustration, guilt, or even relief. Try not to suppress your feelings, and instead allow yourself to express them in a healthy way. This could be through talking to someone you trust, writing in a journal, or doing something creative. Taking care of yourself is also crucial during this time. Grieving can be physically and emotionally exhausting, so make sure you are getting enough rest, eating well, and staying hydrated. It's also important to engage in activities that bring you joy and relaxation. This could be anything from taking a walk in nature, listening to music, or practicing yoga. Another important aspect of coping with loss is seeking support. Surround yourself with supportive family and friends who can offer a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on, or just some companionship. If you feel like you need professional support, consider seeking out a therapist or a support group. Speaking to others who have gone through similar experiences can help you feel less alone and more understood. Remembering and celebrating your loved one's life can also be a helpful way to cope with loss. Telling stories and sharing memories is a great way to bring smiles and laughter into the grieving process. You can also create a memory book or scrapbook, frame photos of them, or plant a tree or flowers in their memory. You could also donate to a charity or cause that was important to them or volunteer in their honor. Doing items to keep their memory alive is a great way to honor them. Here are 6 quick, detailed, healthy ways to deal with grief. It's important to remember that everyone experiences grief differently, and there is no right or wrong way to grieve. Allow yourself to feel your emotions. Grief can bring up a range of emotions, including sadness, anger, guilt, and frustration. It's important to allow yourself to feel these emotions and express them in a healthy way. This could be through talking to someone you trust, writing in a journal, or doing something creative. Take care of yourself. Grieving can be physically and emotionally exhausting, so it's important to take care of yourself. Get enough sleep, eat well, exercise, and do things that bring you joy and relaxation. Seek support. Surround yourself with supportive family and friends who can offer a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on, or just some companionship. Remember that your friends want to help. Just like you would want to help if you knew someone else going through what you are going through. If you feel like you need professional support, consider seeking out a therapist or a support group. Practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself during this difficult time. Don't put pressure on yourself to get over your grief quickly, and don't feel guilty for taking time for yourself. Remember your loved one. Remembering your loved one and celebrating their life can be a helpful way to cope with grief. You can create a memory book or scrapbook, frame photos of them, or plant a tree or flowers in their memory. Take things one day at a time. Grief is a process, and it can take time to heal. Try to focus on taking things one day at a time and not putting pressure on yourself to feel a certain way or reach a certain stage of grief by a certain time. Remember that everyone grieves differently, and there is no right or wrong way to do it. Give yourself time and space to heal and be kind to yourself during this process. Now let's talk about the steps of probate. Before the probate process can start, you need a death certificate. It is typically prepared by a medical examiner, and you can get one through the funeral home or directly from the Vital Records office. Pay to get copies of the death certificate, and the funeral home can give you an idea how many you might need. Probate is the legal process by which a deceased person's assets are distributed to their heirs or beneficiaries according to their will or state law. Here are the steps you need to take to probate a will. File the will with the probate court. The first step is to file the original will with the probate court in the county where the deceased person lived. You will also need to file a petition for probate, which requests that the court open probate and appoint a personal representative, executor, to manage the estate. Notify heirs and beneficiaries. You will need to notify all heirs and beneficiaries named in the will of the probate proceedings. This can be done through a formal notice or through informal communication. Inventory and appraise the assets. The personal representative is responsible for identifying and collecting all of the deceased person's assets, including bank accounts, real estate, and personal property. The assets must be appraised by a professional appraiser to determine their value. Pay debts and taxes. The personal representative must pay any outstanding debts or taxes owed by the estate using the assets collected. This may include filing a final income tax return and estate tax return. Distribute assets to beneficiaries. Once all debts and taxes are paid, the personal representative can distribute the assets to the beneficiaries named in the will. If there is no will, state law will dictate how assets are distributed. Close the estate. After all assets are distributed, the personal representative must file a final report with the court, showing how assets were distributed and debts were paid. The court will then close the estate. Keep in mind that probate laws vary by state, and the process may be more or less complicated depending on the size and complexity of the estate. It's a good idea to consult with an attorney who specializes in probate law to ensure you follow all the necessary steps correctly. Finally, it's important to remember that grief is a process and there is no timeline for it. Everyone grieves differently, and it's okay to take your time and allow yourself to heal at your own pace. Be kind to yourself during this time and remember that it's okay to ask for help when you need it. If you are still having trouble getting started, reach out to your friends. Someone you know has gone through this process. Ask them for their advice. I hope you can focus on the happy memories to comfort you during this time. Grandad.